Today, we're going to summarize the warm-up we did in class. So as you see on the left, there were the directions for the warm-up in our new ratio table note catcher. And I'm going to go through and repeat the process for you in case you need a little bit more think time. So in your note catcher, this is all completed, but I think it can be helpful to go through it step by step. So I'm going to repeat the process. And as you see, there's some reminders of what a ratio is, a comparison of two or more values, and the different ways that you can write a ratio with the colon. You could do a fraction bar. You could write it in a sentence, a phrase. And then a ratio table is the tool that we're going to work on. So the problem that we focused on had to do with yurts. So we talked about yurts. It's kind of like a hut. You can Google what a yurt is. You can go camping in a yurt. So the most important thing right now is we want to do the key reading here. So a yurt is a type of shelter found in some state parks. And each 16-foot diameter yurt can accommodate 6 people. So that's like each yurt, which means if you have one yurt, 6 people can fit in it. And that's the beginning ratio. That's the important information from the reading. So the way this was set up was kind of to teach the skill. And I have all of the directions in red. But eventually you're going to have to do a problem where there's no directions. So we're going to pretend for a minute like there were no directions and just do the guided reading. So you can multiply columns by the same number to get equivalent ratios. It can be handy to use doubling and multiplying by 10. But the process works with any number. So what I asked you to do is to figure out how many people can be accommodated by 2 yurts first. And so we're going to take this 1 and double it, and that's what the times 2 is telling us to do. So we know 2 yurts can accommodate 12 people because we multiply the top and the bottom by 2. So that's 12 people. And then the next question is 4 yurts can accommodate. And so again, when you look at my directions here in red, I'm teaching you how to get to 4. So 4 yurts by doubling can accommodate 24 people. And then the next question says, how about 40 yurts, or the next statement to complete? And so you have to think about how to get from 4 to 40, so you can multiply by 10. And that would give us 40 yurts. So we would multiply it up here by 10, and that would tell us that 40 yurts can accommodate 240 people. So that's the idea of a ratio table. And as we keep going, you can also divide columns, so more directions here, by the same number to get equivalent ratios. So all of these are equivalent ratios. 6 to 1, 12 to 2, 24 to 4, 240 to 40. And I'm taking this ratio here, and I'm going to start a new table with that ratio. I could start it with any equivalent ratio. And I'm trying to figure out how to complete this statement. So 8 yurts can accommodate, you have to figure out what goes in the box here, how many campers. So I was looking over here and thinking that if I want to get from 40 to 8 using division, I could divide by 5. So 40 divided by 5 is 8, and then 240 divided by 5 is what you have to figure out. So you can do a little division off to the side. you could do some mental math, because 5 goes into 120 times. So a lot of you might be able to do that with mental math. But we know 5 times 4 is 20. And when we subtract, I get 48. 5 times 48 is 240. So 240 divided by 5 is 48. So 8 yurts can accommodate 48 campers. So you could have a short ratio table. In other words, it could just be a place where you show your work. You're just showing your work. Then we talked about a new skill that you can add columns together, and sometimes that's handy because it turns out as you get into ratio tables, that can be a really quick way to do solving where you don't have to do a lot of scratch work. So we're going to just practice that skill. So again, we're starting with this ratio: 6 yurts or 6 people can fit into 1 yurt. So we know by doubling, 12 people can fit into 2 yurts. And what this is saying is take this column and add the first column. And so that tells us if we had 3 yurts, adding 1 plus 2, we could fit 18 people. And you could check that because 1 times 3 is 3, and 6 times 3 is 18. But sometimes it could be a really quick skill to use. So over here, it's asking us to get to 5 yurts. So to get to 5 yurts, I'm going to just add 2 yurts and 3 yurts. 2 yurts here, 3 yurts there. So 2 yurts and 3 yurts gets us to 5 yurts. 12 and 18 get us to 30 people. So 5 yurts can accommodate 30 campers. So if we just practice the skill a little bit more, in this table, we found by multiplying by 8, 6 times 8 is 48. But if I want to figure out how to get 7 yurts, I could just, rather than multiplying 6 times 7, that's one way to do it, I could also subtract the columns. So 8 take away 1 is 7, 48 take away 6 is 42. So it gives us an alternative method to do this problem. So on this next problem, we're going to just practice the skills a little more and then do an actual problem where you don't have all the help. So you can combine multiple techniques in one table. We're just going to follow the directions here. 6 times 10 is 60. Whoops, let's get a better color here. 6 times 10 is 60. 1 times 10 is 10. Now divide by 2. 60 divided by 2 is 30. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Now multiply by 4. 30 times 4 is 120. 5 times 4 is 20. Now subtract from this column, just because it's asking us to. So 120 take away 6 is 114. And 20 take away 1 is 19. So what this tells us is 19 yurts can accommodate 114 campers. So how are we going to use this skill? That's really why we're doing this. Okay, so we spent about 10 minutes practicing. How are we going to use this skill? So here's the situation. The 6th grade class is going to go yurt camping. There are 172 6th graders, and the state park requires a ratio of 1 adult chaperone to every 5 students. So we need to figure out how many chaperones that we will need. So you could do all kinds of things. You could do division. That would be a quick thing to do. 172 divided by 5. And 5 goes into 17 3 times. 5 goes into 22 4 times. And so if I had 34 chaperones, I'd have 2 kids left out. So I need 35 chaperones. And then part B, how many people, the campers. So there's 172 campers. And there's 35 chaperones. When I add those together, 35 plus 172, I get 207 people will go on the trip. Okay, so the next thing is, how can I use a ratio table to determine how many yurts we'll need? And we're going to start with that same ratio. 1 yurt can accommodate 6 people. So the goal is just to get 207 quickly. And if it doesn't work out evenly, then you need to make sure you have enough yurts for 207 people. And maybe there's a little space left over, but we don't have a lot of space. So like I can just take this here and and I just want to get close to 207. So like if I multiply by 3, 6 times 3 is 18. So if I multiply by 30, I get 180 people right away. So I know 30 yurts can accommodate 180 people. So I'm close. I don't have enough, but I'm close. So that's how I'm going to start. And then if I look at my 180 and think, well, you know, I'm about almost 30 away, I could just say, well, what if I just add 4 more yurts in here by multiplying? If I do 4 more yurts, then I have an additional 24 people. So if I add this to this, that would tell me how many people could fit in 34 yurts. So 180 plus 24, that's 204 people. So I'm really close. 204 people will take up 34 yurts. But I need 207 people. So I basically just need 1 more yurt. I'm going to just add 1 more yurt. So I'm going to add this yurt to this right here. So 34 plus 1 more yurt would give me 35 yurts. So in addition to 204 people, I can add 6 more people, so I get 210 people. So now I have enough room for all 207 people. I would need 35 yurts. But I'm going to have a little extra space. So will each yurt have 6 campers in it? No. Because I only need room for 207 people. So there will be extra space for 3 more people. And that's the idea of a ratio table. So your work continues through problem 6. And I'm going to help you start number 2, and then you're on your own for the rest. So let's do some guided reading. The cost is $66 per night to rent a yurt. So that's important. In exchange for volunteering, the chaperones do not have to pay anything. So the cost of the yurts will be divided amongst the 172 students. So here we're just doing any method to answer these questions. So in other words, you don't have to use a ratio table here because it's not asking you to. You're just using any method. So you have to think about how many people, if it's $66 per night to rent a whole yurt, and we have 35 yurts, we're going to have to take the 35 yurts, and we're going to have to multiply by $66. And then you have to take that answer and divide it by 172. That's your goal. And that will be the help you do both this part and this part. This is going to be your total cost right here. And then you're going to divide by 172, which is going to figure out your unit rate. And then when you get to problem 3, it's no longer about yurts. You just keep working on these problems.